right. We are going to talk about converting time today. So, converting time and finding out the difference in time is a bit tricky. Hours are 60 minutes, and afternoon and midnight, uh, at afternoon and midnight, the hours switch from 12 to 1. This makes calculating time a bit tricky, but we can go through some tricks to help. Um, First, like the other conversions, we need to remember these things. Converting from a bigger unit to a smaller unit equals multiply, and converting from a smaller unit to a bigger unit is divide. That's the main thing you need to know for conversions. Really, the most important thing. Uh, so, as I've said in my other conversion lessons, this is the opposite of what we have learned, where typically multiplying gives you bigger numbers and dividing gives you smaller numbers. So, remember, it's the opposite of how you would think it would be. So, bigger unit to smaller unit is multiply, smaller unit to bigger unit is divide. So, memorize this. Please memorize this. It's always a good idea to write on the paper, okay, if you are actually doing if you're actually doing this, it's always a good idea, like on a test or something, to write on the on paper, on the scrap paper, literally bigger unit to smaller unit is multiply, smaller unit to bigger unit is divide. I always like to write it down so that anytime I'm actually doing a calculation, I can just look at it and just be like, okay, that works. I can figure out which one I need to do. So what are we multiplying or dividing by? So 1 hour equals 60 minutes. 1 minute equals 60 seconds. Okay. So we could also go into days compared to years. Um, but these things are all pretty simple. Like it's all the same steps. You're just multiplying or dividing by different numbers, right? So from hours to minutes, you're multiplying or dividing by 60, and because 1 hour equals 60 minutes, from minutes to seconds, it's the same thing. You're multiplying or dividing by 60 because 1 minute equals 60 seconds. Now for weeks, like days to weeks, you would be multiplying by 7. Because 7 days is 1 week. For days to years, it would be 365, right? Because 1 year is 365 days. For weeks to years, it would be 52 because there are 52 weeks in a year. So we're still doing the same thing. We're just multiplying or dividing by different numbers, and that's true for all conversions. Okay, so to review general conversions, the unit that has a bigger number is actually the smaller unit. So it's almost like everything else in conversions where it's reversed, right? So 1 hour equals 60 minutes. That means that a minute is smaller than an hour, right? So in the conversion, the unit that has 1 is always smaller, and the unit that has more than 1 is bigger. Okay, so the number 1 in front of it will always be the larger unit. And when you are multiplying or dividing, we multiply or divide by the number of smaller units that equals the bigger unit, 60 in this case, right? Uh, all right, so we are going to do some examples.